Square Show. Look at us. Look at us. We got a bunch of people on. Man, Dan, remember when it was just you and I back in the old days? Now look at this. We got many people here. Obviously we have Joe, Joe, Dan, Joe. I know you've already met, but official podcast show meeting here since Dan wasn't able to join us last time.
Good to see you,
And
Joe.
and we also have Grayson coming to you
Hi.
live from North Carolina. And we have CJ, my son, coming to you here from Northbridge, Massachusetts. We are going to focus the first part of this episode a little bit on the kids, the children's division. So we asked Mr. Grayson and Mr. CJ to be part of this show. So let's go ahead and kick things off. Grayson, thank you for joining us. This was your first World Championship, and I know we think we chatted with you a little bit at the event, but if you could tell us a little bit about how you got into Foursquare, how often you play, just like kind of how it all came about, which made you obviously want to go to the World Championships.
Yeah, sure. Well, I got into Foursquare back in like fifth grade, just saw some kids playing, joined in. And then I just played casually for a bit. I think seventh grade took a break. I played Gaga ball for the year, and then I came back a bit more competitively this year. Especially after, and I learned about the championship from just Googling online. I looked up like, I wonder, is there a championship for Foursquare? And I found the World Championship in Maine. And it's like, oh, that's really cool. And I was like, I'm gonna start training to go. So I probably
Yeah.
started playing a bit more aggressively, a bit more competitively. It's like 4, maybe 6 months ago.
Yep.
And now I play every day. Some at school. Sometimes a friend will come over and we'll just play one on one for like an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah. Tell
Um,
us a little bit more. So when you play at school, is it you're like how many people? I mean, I see, is that like recess or after school? Like how does that work?
yeah, we have two breaks. We have like a 15-minute
Okay.
break and then a 30-minute break. And so I'll play for 45 minutes a day. And there's probably like 7 or 8 people who play Foursquare. And then
Okay.
we have a 2 square court set up and a 4 square court.
Okay.
And they're both regulation size. I got some tape put down. So yeah.
Nice. 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 Awesome. And CJ, you tell us how you got into four squares.
My dad started playing it, so then I kind of got into it.
Yes, that is correct. And we play here at our house quite often. We play in the garage during the winter month.
School?
Play at school. Actually, that's a more recent event that you started playing at school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he brings a ball and he kind of got things going. Sounds like similar to you, Grayson.
I actually have
And
my ball with me.
oh, okay, excellent. Regulation size, I hope. Yeah, let's see
Yep.
it. Oh, there it is. All
Yeah.
right, beautiful. Oh, you can tell it's been used. I like it. That's kind of looks like our ball. We don't have a yellow one. We have a blue one, a black one.
You blue, black, blue, red.
Yeah, yeah. Dan, Joe, any questions for the couple of kiddos here? By the way, Grayson, you're 14, correct?
Yeah.
14. CJ is 9. You guys competed in the boys division. Grayson, this was your first World Championships. Maybe tell us a little bit about your overall experience. You came from North Carolina, so quite the commitment, which we appreciated. Tell us a little bit about like your initial reactions when you got there and how the whole event went for you.
Yeah, I mean, I get there, and I was really excited. I was very excited. Um, I I was not as nervous as I expected, as I thought it would be. I guess just because I've been playing Foursquare, I'm confident, and so I was excited to go, and just be there, play Foursquare. And so we get there early, and just we're there for like an hour before it starts,
Mhm.
just playing Foursquare. It was really fun.
Yeah.
I had a blast.
Yeah. And CJ, this was your second championship, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you think it compared to the first time you went? Was it better? Was it the same? More people? What do you think?
I'd say it was more difficult because there were more people, I feel, and older kids that's round.
Yeah. Well, that being said, you did one heck of a job. I believe you came in about 10th place out of the boys division. Uh, Grayson, you made it what to
Third.
Yeah, third.
third place? All right. So you guys did a great job. You both made it to the championship round, which is no small feat. So congratulations to that. Grayson, you took home a very special award. I forget what we named it, but I think a special Good Competitors Award, right?
Yeah, sportsmanship.
Swordsmanship, that's right. Which is a very important aspect of Foursquare. Dan, Joe, anything that you guys want to ask these guys?
I was going to ask him. I mean, obviously, we played in the men's division, so during the championships, we were separate. We weren't really watching or seeing what was going on. Grayson, I know we played a little bit before during warm ups, and we're kind of talking about a couple of the differences. Any differences that you noted, thought about, found weird, either between the warm ups and your division of the championships, or what you played at the championships versus what you play at home? Anything along those lines? Rules, strategies, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things that stick out to me. The first one, definitely air balls. I mean, I was a little peeved that air balls weren't on for boys division since that's what I've been working with all year. So it was really hard to make that adjustment. I think that's what ended up costing me that little end there. But I still did play really well, played my best. But then the other one, it was like holds, carries.
Mm,
Because the way we play, you can't scoop the ball at all. So
yeah.
you just have to do one hit. That's it. And so I was shocked when I was seeing everyone doing it, and I was like, well, wow. I was just very surprised.
Yeah,
Um,
that was something I think that we mentioned as well, Dan. I believe that was something you included that we started talking a little bit last week, and I know we're probably going to pick that back up. So, and as far as air balls, that was kind of a new rule that we put into place this year for the kids division. I know that was something we talked about with Judy, and um, definitely a flu, something we can continue to chat through and figure out. I mean, that being said, Grace, I know you're going to be graduating up to the adult division next year. So either way, you'll have air balls. So, but yeah, we'll definitely figure. What do you think? What do you think about air balls?
I like them. It makes it easier.
Hmm.
When I did it last year, I lost because of it.
Hmm.
I got like 5 outs because of it.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I think
Because you could airball, but then when I was airballing, you said you can't airball, and they called me out.
there
They
was
outnumbered
confusion.
me.
There was confusion last year. That's right. That's right. Well, I think though, that's a lesson that we need to try to make sure we're always working on is at the end of the day, uh, it's nobody else's fault when when you lose, right? You gotta just understand that, there are things that you could have done better and you can do better next time. But right?
Mhm.
All right. Let's see. Anything else? Any other
I'll liken the different rules to just the first example that comes to mind would be like playing in the NBA versus playing in Olympics basketball. They're both basketball, you're both trying to do the same thing, but there's slightly different strategies and rules, and the ball may be a little different size. So thinking about that variation in play, especially with something as informal, as varied as Foursquare, just kind of stuck out to me as you may have to adjust to different rules and getting
hmm
everybody from so many different places together to
hmm
try to agree on a rule set.
hmm
It's not a uniform thing yet. It's not uniform at all.
And that's what we're working on. That's what we're trying to get to. But yeah, I good point, Dan. I wanted to ask you, Grayson, some of us have like a special kind of like I don't know if you watch wrestling, but there's like you get a finishing move. Do you, any special move that you have that's oh okay, well let's
I
let
have two actually.
yes two. All right, let's let Grayson answer first. Do you have any special moves, like cutsies or anything that you do that you kind of have perfected as one of your maneuvers?
Before you answer that, Grayson, do we really need to ask him that? Because, now you're just trying to cheat for next year. Eric.
Yeah, you don't have to answer. You don't have to answer. If you want to keep that a secret, keep your strategy, then that's fine too.
It doesn't matter.
no,
No
it-
one will be on my team.
That's true. That's true.
No, it's fine. I mean, my move, it's personally on serve. I
Mhm.
do a backspin,
Ah,
right in the front of your square, just a little bit past the line. So if you're far back in your square expecting a hard hit, it's just going to go right back and you can't do anything.
ah.
That's one of mine.
Yeah, you do a pretty good backspin. Did you do any during the championship, Grayson? The backspin?
Yeah, I did. I did
Yeah.
a few.
Yeah.
I tried it once and I missed. And
Yeah.
I never did it in the tournament because they would always hit it down on me. I would never get a good hit perfect
Yeah.
that I could smack.
What would you guys say is the most important thing about being a good Foursquare player?
Moving around.
So agility,
Yeah.
athleticism,
I'd
agility.
say
Yeah.
I'd say the thing for me would be predictions, just watching how your opponent's gonna move, where they're gonna hit, and then going there. So movement's a part of that too.
Movement anticipation, it sounds like, and anticipating maybe where the ball's going to go. Yeah, I mean, you got to put it all together. So much strategy, so much agility, quickness, eye-hand coordination. It's a beautiful sport. It's beautiful. You guys played against each other too. Do you remember? Did you guys get each other out, or did you maybe team up a little bit? Do you remember it all?
We teamed up and then we definitely did get each other out a few
Oh,
times.
okay, all right.
Like he got one of my outs in the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. But what do you know? You just gotta tip your hat and say, hey, nice job. You got me out. Maybe I'll get you out next time, right?
Mhm.
Excellent. All right. Well, guys, we appreciate it. Thank you for participating in our Foursquare show here. We'd love to maybe have you on again, and obviously we'll continue to chat through some of these rules that you guys brought up. And um, Grayson, it sounds like you'll be a returning competitor at the World Championships going forward. And CJ, I know you will be as well, right? Excellent. Well, guys, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Good to chat.
Way on your way. See you, Grayson. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, there we go. A little perspective there of the younger division. I mean, we had so many kids at the last World Championships. It was awesome to see. And again, Grayson will be moving forward into technically the adult division next year. But good to hear from our youth. All right. Let's
Youth is our future.
It's our future. Exactly. Exactly. So last time Joe and I really dived into kind of a big recap of how everything went. And then we started diving into some of the rules and some of the stuff that I know we wanted to discuss. Before we move forward from that, Deanna, obviously I know that you weren't able to join us last time. Was there anything that you wanted to resurface or talk through that we may have already covered a little bit, or just wanted to give you a chance there?
Well, this is Foursquare, so we're always talking about the same things and always talking
Yeah.
about the same rules. Let's just pick up where you guys left off. I mean, it was my bad being out last week. Let's just pick it up, and we
Yeah,
always we always tend to end up circling back around to the same topics anyway.
absolutely. Let's do that. All right. By the way, we got a pretty good viewing of our last show. Joe, it's probably all you because you were the outlier. You're the only difference,
The difference, the
with
addition.
yeah. So I think you got a following or something. I don't know.
I mean, a lot of the people on my social are from high school, and a lot of them all played Foursquare. I had quite a few comments stating like, "Dude, that's awesome! You still play," or "Oh my God, I remember playing Foursquare back at high school. Those were good." Just a lot of comments regarding that. So it's all been positive feedback.
Love it. And did I happen to see that one of I don't know if it's your current nickname or you used to be referred to as the Bulldog?
Yes.
You
That
got to
was
tell us a little
from
bit about that.
so that's just from when I was in the military.
Okay.
I'm just gonna leave it as that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thank you for your service. I didn't realize you were in the military.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Okay, well then I think we left off talking about slamming. I think that's where we were.
You guys got way down then.
We did pretty good. We got through a good chunk of it. Um, so Dan, I know you had some ideas about just talking through should slams be allowed? How do you govern them? I mean, it may I don't know if this is more an adult division topic. I mean,
I think it
slams are
probably is.
yeah. I mean, at the kid level, they're only so powerful to be able to slam.
They also
So
haven't
yeah,
quite figured out the horizontal slam yet, so they'll
yeah.
go straight down, go straight up in the air, and come back, and it's
Hmm.
fairly easy to return. I feel like that's a mid-level skill, a mid-level
Hmm.
strategy thing. Is that I got to get it to go sideways and go
Hmm.
really far away. It's not just about getting it up in the air.
Yeah. I think you were talking about like how to defend a slam. Like what options do you have? Do you want to kind of
Yeah.
chat through that a little bit?
Yes. Let's see. I don't know if it was on here somewhere else. But the idea of is it hands only or is it, in true unlimited style, can you whatever part of your body you hit it with, be your knee, your head, your chest, whatever works to get it into someone else's square, that could be valid.
Hmm.
So I know we faced a lot of times where the ball has bounced in someone else's square. You're not allowed to touch it because that would be poaching.
Yep.
And all you can do is kind of prepare yourself for a slam and go, do I go back? Do I try to, figure out where he's going to slam it, run back and try to,
Mm.
baseball it back or something? Or do I run up real close, hockey shootout style and just sort of try to smother it and get any part of my body I can and try to deflect it into someone else's square? So the rule about hands only really prevents that first one. I'm sorry, really prevents the second one. If you can
Mm.
only use your hands, you don't, that defensive method of smothering the zone, coming right up
Mm.
on it and seeing what you can get doesn't work. Or do we say, look, you're allowed to poach it. You're allowed to try to steal it from that person and run up and into their square. And I think a lot of this just has to do with how aggressive do we want players to get?
Mm.
How risk taking can they be? Or is
Hmm.
it a speed game where first to the ball gets the ball? So
Mm.
there's a lot of competitive dynamics that come into play. Is it once the ball hits your square, it's yours and no one else can touch it and you can take as much time as you like with it? Or is it a speed game and look, wherever the ball is, anybody can get it and there's a competitive aspect to getting to it as quickly as possible and making sure that you're not what's sort of stalling, playing for time,
Mm.
taking advantage of the fact that it's yours and yours alone.
Yeah.
So always just stuff to talk through and think about. And
Yeah. Yeah.
the way you ultimately do this is you play a couple practice games with it and you go, wait a sec, that's not working. Let's see if we can improve on that. So a very iterative process.
Absolutely. I mean, I love the conversation. I don't think I'm in favor of being able to touch the ball with anything other than your hands, to be honest. I think that brings in a lot of other factors. For example, what if somebody hits the ball, maybe not a slam, I mean, it could be a slam, but a hard hit, not necessarily a slam. And I think this may have happened a few times, and and it like hits somebody unintentionally in the chest or even in the face or something, and then the ball happens to just bounce then into somebody else's square, and like then like hey that would
My
be
fault.
okay in this theory, right? I don't know. I kind of look at it almost like ping pong or tennis, and like where you have to hit the ball with the racket, or with the ping pong paddle or whatever it is. Um, to be honest, I'm not very passionate about that because I don't see that happening often, even if we were to bring that into the game. I know I probably would never use it, to be honest. And if somebody wants to or is able to, then go ahead. But my vote or my default would be I think that you would need to use your hands. Joe, what do you think?
So when it comes to spikes, slams, or how I like to call it, the hammer, everything is hands only. Kind of reiterating to what Dan said, it's once it hits your square, it's your ball. You can only play with your hands, right? Now, how do you defend against it? Everyone has their own thing. What's the best way? It's whatever you've gotten comfortable, what you found is best for yourself. Some people stand back, other people come up close. Now, I've seen it go both ways, and both ways has their pros and cons. If you're up close, airball. If you're afar, you're playing defense, and you can try and see where the ball's going to hit your square. But the cons against both is that if you play up close, they can hit the ball to you. And when the ball hits you, you're out.
Yeah.
So Russian roulette, maybe,
It's kind of like, just sorry, Joe, just to jump in. It's kind of like when we talk, well, Grayson had mentioned this, anticipating, right?
Yep.
When you're anticipating, you can kind of see when a ball is hit in a certain way when somebody has the opportunity to slam you. And during that split second, you can then make a decision. Well, first of all, one, are they going to slam you? And that comes into a lot of the strategy of knowing your opponents. Two, if you feel as if they could, then do you, to your point, kind of run forward in an attempt to do one of Dan's smothering tactics? Do you run backwards in an attempt to play defense and you're hoping that the ball bounces somewhat in the territory of you being able to return it? Do you just stay pat and hope that it isn't one of those unreturnable slams that go 20 feet over your head? Yeah. I gotta say, as someone who suffered the wrath of many, 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 many slams by a certain individual.
I think you forgot an extra many.
Many. There were definitely, and I'm sure this didn't happen just to me, I kid, kind of. But there were slams that were, dare I say, impossible to return. I'm not illegal and not an illegal hit, but just impossible from the person who's getting slammed.
Go ahead. One thing I noticed, so I did use a slam once in the championship, not the championship round, but I think it was probably either first or second round. And it wasn't even anything I was planning at all. It's just I happened to be in third square and the ball happened to float like almost right in the center of the entire court. Maybe a little bit over my square, but I don't know what it was, but I instinctively went and I just spiked it right into King Square. Probably from, how I used to play when it was you gain points from by serving, not by getting out. And everything was valid. It hit the guy's square. He got out because it was unreturnable because of the tight space, which we had discussed last time. But, going to what you were just saying about, spikes can be sometimes unreturnable. Yeah, and that's the thing about spikes is sometimes they're unreturnable. My past experiences, again, this is when we were playing at the academy, not at the town hall where it's much tighter here. People were returning spikes that would have gone 15 20 feet away from the square. I've had plenty of experiences of returning those spikes. And so what happens when you return it? Well, in the new rules, it could follow the same as the prior rules where, well, you're an easy out. So if you can return it and it gets anywhere near the court, someone can airball it, because at that point you've returned it. It is free ball. They can either take the ball, hit your square, and you got to run 30 feet the other direction.
Yep.
Or hopefully you have friends and they go somewhere, they hit the ball in someone else's square. It's another way of saving yourself is playing off the wall, which the location we were at is hard because of all, I call them pedestrians, but other players. We had a lot of bodies in the way, so a lot of the spiking couldn't be returned.
Yeah. I know. I think, like, ideally, and this would never happen in a perfect world. I think that we would have almost like a wall.
Buffer zone.
Yeah, buffer zone. Have a buffer zone. I don't know what that would be, 5, 6 feet, whatever feet,
bigger
outside.
Square, whatever it is.
Yeah, and there would be a wall surrounding, so then that way the ball then would always be able to, on a slam, a huge slam, it would, ideally hit the buffer wall and come back, and then it would be playable. But obviously, I don't think that's realistic.
So here's an idea. Again, perfect world. We say, okay, you can slam it as hard as you want, but if the ball goes too far away from the court, the person who hit it is out. It's like there's a baseball style wall, and if it goes over the wall, the person who hit it is. I don't know that I like that rule, but I thought of it as keeping the game contained. So spectators can watch and they can't interfere. It's a possibility.
That is such an outside the box idea. That the outside the boxness I love. And honestly, I don't think I hate it. Let's table that, because I have two other. I have two other just out of the box ideas. One, is it possible to not remove slams, to not have now this new idea of having, the slam needs to land within a certain zone, to not have any of that? But is it possible to minimize the importance of a slam by, if you slam, now there's a lot of subjectivity here, which is probably why it can't happen. If you slam someone out, the person you get out only gets a half an out. That's another idea. Probably not, because was it a slam? Like, we would have to define what is a slam for that to be, the case. Here's the other thing that is maybe a little bit more realistic. And again, I don't know if I would sign off on this, but just to throw it out here. And Dan, I think we've talked a little bit about this, but I grew up playing Foursquare where you could not, it was against the rules, do what we refer to as palms down. You had to hit the ball underhand or basically halfway to underhand. You could not in any way bring your hand more than 50% or what over the ball. You couldn't hit it like that. You could not hit the ball in any way upper hand or palmsies down. Your palms needed to be up or halfway. So that being said, that is why or not that is a way of combat. I don't know if that's the right word, but combating like huge slams from happening, because most of the big, huge slams that I think we saw happen occur, hammers or fists or over the hand. You're just slamming the ball down and it's ricocheting and hitting way up, and there's no real, there's a minimal way of returning it. By going all underhand, that might assist with that. I don't think that is something we would want to do, because there's all other reasons that people are used to doing it that way. And I don't know if, the risk reward that, right? I don't know if that makes sense or not, but those are all things that we can think about, right? I mean,
so I found that doing the underhand only game makes it a little more tactical and a little less power oriented. And I think we've all seen, slams tend to happen. The ball goes up in the air, and we at the championships, we're all trying to keep it super low to the ground. These real like acute angle shots into other people's squares. So I mean, I've always liked underhand only, where I guess your palm can't be any more. I don't know. It can be perpendicular to the ground, but or your wrist has to only be able to bend. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I got you.
But I did find it made it a more tactical game and less power oriented. And just there's no kind of way to get the ball over somebody, or just completely leave them utterly defenseless. And it's a different game. It's a different style. It's a different skill set. But it was good.
I guess that's what we need to like figure out is the slam that is the over the head hammer fist, where the ball at a very high speed and intensity bounces, goes 10 feet over your head, lands 30 feet behind you. Is that part of Foursquare? Should that be part of the game?
Same thing. I was going to ask the
Because
same thing. And to me, it's
maybe the answer is yes, and if
maybe it
so,
is.
then
Maybe it is.
so be it. I think that's where we need to start. Should it be part of the game?
And you go, I can come at it a couple of ways. One is it sportsmanlike when one player's got a gun and the other one's a duck? Maybe not. But are aces a part of tennis? I mean, yeah, it's unreturnable. Is a home run part of baseball? Look, you had your shot. Maybe someone else screwed up. I can't think of a multiplayer game that way, but it's undefendable. There are undefendable moves in sports. And I always see it as there's one sect that says yes, there's one sect that says no.
Exactly.
Maybe they play two different games, maybe they're in two different divisions. But that's that's certainly, they're both viable, they're both possible. There's no one Foursquare. And the question becomes, the game that we play at the championships is this version. Maybe we switch it up every year, every 4 years, whatever. Hey, that's this year is the year focused on tactics. This year is the year focused on power. This year there's a fence around it. There's no one game, and I'm looking forward to getting thousands and thousands of people in, so we can have different different focuses and different ways for people to look at it.
Oh, for me, I like seeing slams. I like dealing with them because it's just another strategy to deal with. To me, Foursquare is a strategic game in a way, because you're dealing with both tactical players and you're also dealing with power players.
Yeah.
Because you have power players who their mobility prevents them from doing tactical. So they rely on the power. And that's what to me, that's what makes the game fun, because you have to be fluid between playing power versus tactical.
Yeah.
You have to be able to switch between both on a dime, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think, I personally, my opinion on is, we need to define what a slam is and to what extent you should do a slam. I think one of the topics we was fists. Some of us, I'm guilty of it. Sometimes when I do a spike or a slam, I do a fist and I hit on the bottom end of my fist, which is still part of your hand. It's legal. But it's an inaccurate move. So that's a con on my end, right? So it's how do we define it? And then if we allow it, what are the regulations on it?
And who enforces them? Is there a ref? I know we had an excellent ref in the championship round. Joe, thank you for doing that. I think you guys covered that last time. At any time more rules come in, how do we enforce them? How do we make judgment calls about them? And so I liked what you said about fists as well. It's, hey, look, it's I'm buying power with accuracy. I'm getting more power at the expense of accuracy, and it becomes a skill. Hey, look, that's something I'm good at. I got really good at slamming with the bottom of my fist, and I can now hit it 100 miles an hour more accurately than I could before.
Mm.
Great, I'm a better Foursquare player. I think a lot of what we look for here is what is unfair. Is a slam unfair? We've all been in situations where it's like, look, the guy in square two just tossed it up to the guy in square four, and he completely obliterated me in square three. Okay, that's not unfair, but that's not the spike. That's something else about the
Right.
game.
No,
And there
that's
have been plenty of
team
times where
play.
you get an organic slam, you're like, what is it? The dice came up with a big X for me this time, and I got the
Yeah.
whammy, and next time
Yeah.
it'll be somebody else, and that's
I
just the
think,
way the game goes.
Yeah.
like I said, I think now this has been brought up at least 3 or 4 times. It's a lot of the unfairness from this year's championship was due to the tight base. I mean,
Yeah.
Eric, Dan, I think I've seen you both get struck out by spikes or slams, and you were on top of going to get it, but you literally hit a wall of
Yeah.
people, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, yes, this was returnable, but I couldn't return it because of wall of bodies.
Mhm.
So
Barricade. Yeah, it was barricaded
it's
in.
you. So I
So-
guess
Go
what
ahead,
we
yeah.
could do is, if we're in a tight space like that, no slams.
House
Unless
rules. House rules.
unless
Yeah.
it's off the wall and it was deemed returnable.
So do you go, a slam is only allowed if it's returnable?
So let's say it was slammed. Let's take this year's championship, for example. Eric, you get slammed. Boom.
Yep.
But the ball goes to a wall of people. You couldn't
You go
return it
smack into
because
them.
right. So you couldn't return it. I think that slam is fault because it was unreturnable.
You think that slam is?
I think it would be bad. I think that person would be
I
out.
would think that would be an illegal slam in in this stadium under these play conditions.
Now,
So would that person be out, or would that be a redo?
I think that person would be out.
Mm.
I think I think I agree.
Because,
I think
like, I don't-
it's an illegal slam.
Mm.
Yeah. But if the ball hits your square as a spike slam and it hits a wall, that's returnable.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Well-
that's fair play. If you miss it, if it's within your area of, again, we're using this year's championship conditions where we had a lot of people.
Yeah.
If it was in your area that you're able to get to, that is playable. If you get spiked, it goes off the wall, and it's within your area, that would be returnable, and that would be valid.
I think what we can do, though, is I think we can proceed with the assumption that we will be moving to the academy next year, because it sounds from my discussions with Peter that's already being looked into. I know he agrees that things were tight, this year. We almost did it this past year, honestly, and we obviously decided not to. But so I hate for us to spin our wheels to determine certain parameters to these rules, given the location that we were at, when in reality we're likely going to be moving to a larger facility. So that being said, maybe, and obviously we don't have to make any decisions now, maybe because of the fact that we're likely going to be moving locations, and I know, Joe, you've been there before, but I don't think Dan and I have been. So
Look
and
better
even
from a
with you
satellite
being
picture, but that's it.
right. And even with you being there in our satellite pictures, things may be set up differently since it's been a while, obviously. So maybe we use we're talking about next year here already, but maybe we use next year as kind of that, what's the word I'm looking for? That,
Baseline.
Test
basically,
case.
yeah, there we go. Yeah. To
Yeah.
kind of see how things are in regards specifically to that. I mean, that being said, it doesn't mean that we can't think about if we want to bring in a buffer zone that you can't hit out of. I don't know what you guys' thoughts in regards to into having someone only get a half an oh I don't think I like that because that brings so much subjectivity in terms of like what well was it a slam
Right.
but the buffer zone that's that I mean that's black and white either the ball landed in or it landed out so I think we talked about last time bringing in some sort of maybe like vote for anybody who wants to be part of it. I know we have a distribution list, so maybe whether it be quarterly or twice a year, whatever the case may be. So what I'm trying to, I guess, figure out is what out of this conversation that we just had, what do we want to have up for grabs in terms of like what should be the question that we're voting on? Um, should it be like are slams allowed? Should it be slams are allowed, but do you want there to be a buffer zone where the ball has to land within? Like, what is it that we want to bring forward for people to vote on in regards to this? If anything, maybe it's nothing at this point.
I think we got a bunch. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to go back and read the transcript or listen to the show to go through everything. But we go, hey, what ideas do you like? Or do we just say, look, there's a committee that knows the venue. I like this idea of saying, hey, look, there's house rules just like there are in baseball for the different
Mm.
stadiums because they're set up differently. They've got different shapes. They've got stuff projecting over the top. When we're at the academy, there's a buffer zone. When we're at the town hall, it's underhand only. Um, I like the idea of saying there's house rules for each venue, depending on crowds, depending on space, depending on all of
Yeah,
this stuff.
I can get behind
We're at
that.
this venue. We're playing
yeah,
this way this year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like your weird Astro stadium, Dan, that has like that random center field, like
So they
up,
got rid
up.
of that. I
Oh, they
know it was
did?
so
Oh,
great. So
okay.
don't forget it was the hill in center field, and there was also a flagpole that was in play. So if you hit a ball 500 feet and it hit this flagpole and dropped back into the field, it wasn't a home run.
And that's exactly though your point about house rules. I mean, that's I shouldn't be talking considering Fenway Park is one of the most weird, quirkiest parks that there is as well. So, um, yeah, okay. Uh,
How far is right field in Fenway? Is it 195 feet? Something like that.
yeah, the Pesky's pole in right field is extremely, but then it like jets out,
And
and
it just
then
goes straight out
yeah,
at like a
yeah,
175-degree angle.
yeah, it's great. It's weird. Okay, so more to come, I think, on that topic. Obviously, we'll bring forward some type of house rules, depending on what location and all that, and some type of vote or whatnot will be included when it comes to that. So I think let's see, we're at 48-ish minutes. Maybe have a quick discussion. We have just a few minutes before we call it a show here. So I think the next agenda item here was, and we talked about fists, serves. Dan, I know you had a couple of thoughts in regards to the serves. Did you want to talk through those, like power serves versus to get the serve started or get the play started?
Sure. So, and obviously every discussion in Foursquare as well, I always played or my experiences.
Right.
Let me see if we've got this one on there. The idea that I had that I think I like, and I'd love to get your guys' feedback on it, is we've always talked about serves. What's the right way to serve? Does the king square, does the four square have an advantage? How are points scored? It all kind of works into that. And it ultimately comes down to someone's got to start the gameplay off. Someone's going to get the first hit, no matter where it comes from. Can we give that person an advantage? Are they allowed to try to get somebody out? Or is it just, okay, they got to start it off softly and then you just move the who gets first to someone else? So the thing I was thinking about was, what if instead of having the fourth square serve, we have the first square serve? You come into the game, you get one serve, and that's it. The server changes every time. Um, maybe it's power, maybe it's not. But I think there's a couple things to talk through. One, there's really two questions. One is, can the person who's serving try to get somebody out? Are they is that the beginning of the aggression and the beginning of the competitiveness? And the second one is, do we want the same person serving over and over again? Or is it the server changes every time? I want to say in volleyball, the server changes every time, or every time they rotate, the server changes. So thinking about, do we want one person kind of going over and over, or should we switch it up so that no one player can dominate? And I think if we agree, and I don't know that we do, if we agree that the serve can be as aggressive as possible, it's probably a mitigant to say the server changes every time. You get someone who's a super good server, if they get into the fourth square and stay there forever, the game's over. But if they can only serve from the first square, hey, the longer they stay in, the fewer people they can get out serving. So an idea for a way to mitigate a really good server who can get people out all the time.
Well said. Joe, would love your thoughts. But I will. I'll give the theme behind almost everything that we always talk about, which is the way that I grew up in playing is we did not have a limited amount of one bads. We call them first serves. Basically, how did we do it? So similar to kind of the way we have it set up now, which is the serve is supposed to start the game. It's not supposed to be a powerful serve in an effort to get somebody out. However, the rules in the World Championships don't necessarily reflect that, because what's stopping anybody from slamming someone out one bad and then just slamming them out again? Now, I gotta say that doesn't really happen, which is great, because I think we all have an unspoken understanding that that's not what we want to do here. So maybe we need to revise the rules accordingly. But the way that I grew up was, again, the serve started the game. The serve needed to be an unaggressive, non-slam. It didn't necessarily have to be perfect, but it had to be somewhat able to be returned in some fashion. And you had an unlimited amount of first serves. So if the guy kept serving it in a way that was way off to the left, way off to the right, then you could just keep first serve, one bad, until they serve something that was returnable. But if there was a serve that was returnable and you called one bad, then you're out, because and that's subjective. So that's where it gets a little hard to figure out. So because of that, is my long-winded way of saying, it is my, I guess, opinion that the serve should be a let's serve this to get the game started serve, and not a serve to try to get someone out serve. And Joe, I definitely want to hear what you have to say. I'm gonna keep one other quick thing.
I can't help but jump in here because I'm the complete opposite of that, which was,
oh no, go ahead then. Yeah,
you got to the fourth square, you're the king. It's like, it's your game. You can go as hard as you want. I will say we had to put rules into place, which were, you can't slam. You have to be outside of your square.
Okay.
The ball, when you hit it, has to be outside of your square. So again, trying to take away some of that advantage. And the rule was it has to be underhand. I think there's any number of power limiting things we can do. Because you can say, can you do a sidearm serve that's essentially like hitting the ball with a baseball bat? Well, maybe not. Maybe both hands have to be between your legs or inside your hips or something like that. You can only strike the ball if it's below your waist, or it's got to be underhand. And one that really helped was just backing people up. Whoever's serving the ball had to be outside their square. When they hit the ball, it had to be outside their square. Whatever the serving square is, you can put another mark out there that says you got to be behind this mark when you serve, and that's the only thing it's good for.
I'd sign off on that. I'm okay with that. Joe, what do you think?
Existential debating. Decide right now. This is the future of the game.
I mean,
the most critical part of it.
All right. Let's talk about serve quality first.
Yeah.
regarding championships, like the event that we hold has to be a returnable serve. Like one thing that caught my ear earlier was Grayson saying he was doing backspin serves. I'm on the fence on that. I did that back in high school because we weren't really following any strict rules. We were being dumb and silly. Like I'm talking to the point where we would go up to the cross of the foursquare, baby bounce, baby serve, go into the next square, and they would be too far back and they'd get out. Like that's how silly we're talking.
Yeah.
The event, in my opinion, it should be bounce, underhand, single or double hand, but it can't be a carry, but it's got to be underhand serve that is servable to the whatever square. And I see that because now that we've changed the rules where you get points by getting out, do we actually have to serve from king square now? Because you're no longer getting points being in king. So there's that. But again, that's championship rules. And we're not talking about backyard school ground rules, everyone. But when it comes to
rules, this is a prison rules here. How about the championship?
So
it's the unlimited division. Like
so
yeah.
I think
no holds barred.
I agree with you, Eric. Bounce underhand, it's got to be returnable. You get one bad, and then if you miss it, if you mess up the next time, then we can debate on if it was, whoever serves it's out or the receiving person's out. So that's where I sit on that. Now, whether or not you want to be outside the square to serve, I'm indifferent. I really am.
Well, how about we bring in both of all what we're talking about? How about your feet have to be, not necessarily the ball, but your feet have to be outside the square. There has to be, but you can't be over like next to 3 or 1, like, or
you got to be
on
the corner.
You have to be in the corner. Yeah. So how about
one side on each, 1 foot on each side of the
one
diagonal.
foot on each side outside? So both feet need to be outside the square, 1 foot on one outside line, the other foot on one outside line. You have to serve underhand. You have to serve diagonal, which we kind of already know.
That's easy. Because I could say, why do we have to serve diagonal?
Yeah,
but
I mean,
but that's more of a power serve and getting people out thing.
Yeah, and yeah, I never did it that way either. I always had it serve wherever you want.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
What if we remove the whole diagonal aspect? Now you're changing the whole tactic of the game. Because remember, let's take the mentality of you're getting points by out, like that's solidified. Let's say that's not changing. Air quotes. You don't have to serve the first square anymore, though. Why? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter who you serve to.
Because now you can start implementing team tactics.
Because
the whole point is
because the first square always changes. So you can't team up if you have to go to first square.
I was never a fan of having to serve diagonal and having to serve to a square. So I'm all for that.
I agree with that.
I mean, because let's say you two, Dan, you're in king square. Eric, you're in third square. What's stopping Dan from continuously serving to Eric? And Eric just chipping it into first square? Or Eric reciprocating it back to Dan and Dan gets second square? Like, what is stopping that? Nothing. There's absolutely nothing stopping you guys from doing that.
So I think the thing that prevents the teaming up is having to serve to first square. Because at that point, the person first square is always changing. You can't team up with someone. At most, you get one chance to team up. A lot of this is coming back to, is there a ref as well? Is there some sort of arbitrator that says, come on, nope, warning, strike.
So we talked about this on
I'm
the last
calling
show,
I'm
though,
calling
a
the
little bit.
games.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked a little. Remember, Joe? We talked a little bit about the fact of teaming up, and you correctly kind of called me out, and you were like, because I said the same exact thing, Dan, that you just said, and I was like, well, if there's a ideal situation, the ref's going to kind of say, hey, come on, guys, all right, that's a warning, you can't do it. But there's nothing in the rules. There's nothing governing.
All this stuff.
Yeah.
If we wanted the rules, we got to write it in the rules.
But then, like,
there's no ref in the
but
rules.
here's the thing. Let's take the first 2 general rounds. We don't have a ref for that.
Should we?
Well, it's
But then,
yes,
but here's
but
how many
can
courts
we?
do we have
It'd be
going?
someone who's not playing, obviously.
But then you need to have you need to have experienced people reffing almost each court.
In an ideal situation, we would absolutely have an official for every division, every round. I don't know if that's realistic.
Feasible, that is.
Not
Yeah,
right now.
like, are one of you gonna say I'm not gonna compete because I want to officiate? I know I'm not.
Exactly. How many qualified refs do we have who
Right.
would
I mean,
agree
like,
not to
out of this
compete?
last year, I can count, 5 or 6.
I say call it 10 to be generous. Yeah.
3 on this call.
Yeah.
But it's
It's a hard thing, and when we're looking at we're a small community. There's no barely any uniforms. It's still kind of this backyard underground game, and a lot of the stuff we're talking about, we go, okay, what's feasible for the championships next year, and what's feasible for when it's an Olympic sport. When it's on TV
Not if,
and
when.
unlimited resources and a glut of players who are qualified. There's a lot of there's a huge gulf between those two things. Next year, no, we're not going to have enough people to be doing refs at every court. So a lot of this is just kind of the old spitballing back and forth.
It's got to
right?
be
Perfect
honesty.
world. Yeah.
This is when it comes down to etiquette.
Mhm.
Yeah.
People gotta take accountability, and they've gotta, and the bystanders need to call certain things, including players in the court.
Being
You
in
know,
a
line
lot of
is
us-
huge. Yes.
A lot of people were kind of doing that,
Mhm.
but I was one that was always reffing whatever court I was near. I was always on top of it.
Say
You're
That's
also
just who I
putting-
am.
calling that. I saw that. The players were arguing. You get three people in line that are like, nope,
Yeah.
square two, you're out. That ball was out. That ball was in. It's
Yep.
important, and I like the idea of having the wisdom of the mob, the wisdom of the crowd. You're appealing to the crowd, and you
It's-
gotta kind of be a fan favorite, at
In
least
a
terms
way,
of being
it's
sportsmanlike.
got to be teamwork.
Yeah.
In a way, it's a team sport at the same time as an individual sport. Okay,
Mhm.
where you're playing for yourself, but you also want to make sure it's fair for others.
Mhm.
Self-governing like golf. You call your own fouls. If you don't, someone will get on you about it eventually. But we've got 50 pairs of eyes all around the court. If they agree, you really can't fight with them. If there's a
However,
disagreement there, that's when you get into do-over. Hey, half the people saw it was in, half
Yeah.
the people saw it was
But I
half the
do
people saw
feel
malice intent, half the people saw innocent intent.
Right.
That's where you start getting mob, not mob rule in a bad way, but crowd wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom of the crowd.
I do feel though that and I was nothing necessarily against someone, but it does put a little bit of a target on you when you're in line and you're doing what we're talking about. And I think we all did this, and we weren't the only ones where oh, that was out. That was and you had nothing. You're in line, but you're helping the situation, and it could put I mean, I think that there are certain people that just keep their mouth shut.
Mhm.
And how about I just had a radical idea when you guys were discussing this. I don't know if this is even possible, but I mean, and I'm happy to include you all in this, but maybe I can reach out to Peter, Gary, the people who run all this. I mean, I feel like we made a pretty good little profit for the Bridgetown community here, considering the amount that that they got from the last event and the amount of people that showed up. What if we said, hey, out of the X, I don't want to give an amount here, but out of the X profit that was made, and we're going to assume it's going to be more next year and ongoing, can we take I'm just going to throw out a number. Could we take 100 and pay an official to
I
have
was gonna say,
just an
and
official?
even if we have to up the registration fee from $10 to 15, I
Yeah.
mean, we had what, a couple hundred people?
Yeah.
Even if we had 100 people, that $5, $500. I like the idea.
Yeah.
The $10, it's interesting to me. It seems almost nominal for one person.
Mm.
But no, I like the idea of saying, look, you're paying a registration fee. Here's what you're getting for it. You're getting refs, you're getting lines, you're getting space.
Mhm.
You're getting a real game in a way that a playground game, a backyard game, a community game can't deliver. We're really trying to professionalize this, and
Yeah.
I think you could probably find a ref.
Well, especially if we can pay them. I mean, if there's somebody that is specifically being brought in, it's probably not going to be anyone that any one of us, but if we got approval that just hypothetically, hey, yeah, you can have $100 to pay a ref to just come in and ref. We have a year. We can train them up on all the rules,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's doable. And I'm also thinking if this, whether it be next year or some future year, to your point, Dan, about this going to the Olympics, but more maybe short term, if this is getting broadcasted on like ESPN Ocho or something like that, we gotta have refs. I mean, it's right. Like
I mean,
we
at the
have to
very
be somewhat
least,
professional.
a judge, an arbitrator, someone to step in like Joe was doing during the men's finals. That nope, this is the final decision.
Mm.
Even if that person only comes in when there's a disagreement,
Mm.
say this is the call. It
Yeah.
it really does professionalize the sport.
Yeah.
There's some sort of oversight. There's some sort of rule following enforcement mechanism. I mean, I love the idea of saying, yeah, let's take the registration fee, even if we have to up it a couple of bucks, and it pays for officials.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've discussed a lot. We're a little over time, and I think this is the longest show we've done so far. We're over an hour. Appreciate anybody who's stuck with us. As always, so much more to come. But I think we have a lot of good points here, a lot of good takeaways. We're loving the fact that we're getting some media coverage. I know we discussed we were covered in forget the name of it now, but there was an
One of the
article,
main newspapers. I can't
one of the
remember
main
exactly what it was.
newspapers.
Was
Yeah.
it Portland Press Herald or the Sun Journal?
The Portland Press was the one that actually was covered after the event. There was two, and then but the one before that, I know Dan, you were in this one as well. I forget the name. What name it was? It may have been Bridgeton Weekly or something like that. I don't remember. Anyway, getting some pretty cool media coverage, and hopefully that's only going to continue to grow. So Joe, keep me honest. Like, share,
Subscribe.
Like, share,
subscribe.
subscribe, and comment.
Yes, do all
Comment.
those things. Comment. I think we actually got a comment on the last show.
Yeah, that was my friend Joey.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he just commented my name, and I haven't heard from him in years. So I was like, oh, all right, cool.
We'll keep it coming. We're gonna have even more guests on as we continue through these. And we will obviously pick things up next time. We'll figure out when we're meeting again, probably sometime in May. But yeah, thanks, Joe. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Grayson. Thanks, CJ. Thank you, all of our listeners. Feel free to let us know if you have any questions. Let us know if you want to be part of this. Comment, do all the things. Until
Propose
next
rule
time.
changes, answer the
Yeah.
questions. I mean, we want to hear. It's all of this stuff comes in. We're not sitting in a room together, a virtual room together, making decisions. We're throwing stuff that's crazy out there. Riff off of it. What do you like? What do you don't? Defend your arguments. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Because otherwise, I believe three of us deciding the rules for next year. And if you don't want that, chime in.
Then speak up. Yes, please. Yeah, we don't want all the pressure
Speak
on
now,
us.
forever hold your peace.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like voting, right? If you don't vote, you can't complain. So
Exactly.
all right. Well, goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Till next time.
Yep.
Till next time.
All right.